This short talk is the fourth in a limited series I've entitled Living in Difficult Times, designed to provide small, useful tips for couples who are in lockdown together. Unfortunately, being confined brings its own set of emotional and psychological issues that are aggravated by the stress of the unknown and financial fears amidst the backdrop of trying to maintain a healthy marital relationship. Having children at home brings further variables into the equation. In this series, I focus on couples. If we maintain and take the time to build this relationship, the children almost always feel more secure and the family tensions are thereby inevitably reduced. Hello, it's good to be with you again. I hope that you have both made a deliberate and intentional effort to put in place the recommended actions of the last 3 talks, and that these will become positive habits that are formed and continue once the lockdown severities are being reduced and then ultimately removed. What a blessing this time of lockdown will then have been if your marital relationship has been strengthened. The previous 3 talks emphasize each day you're putting in place positive affirmation and thanks to your spouse. These need to be specific and genuine. Monitor your harshness, belittling and critical comments, and replace these with encouraging words of appreciation. What a difference a positive comment makes. Defensiveness and justification of one's own position becomes unnecessary. The second talk recommended a deliberate and intentional time to be in physical contact with your spouse. This can be between 1 and 2 minutes and includes a connecting touch of a hug, a kiss, a loving hand on a shoulder, holding hands, all simple things that should be easy to do with a spouse, but that are often neglected in the daily grind of life. Let the kids see you and your spouse making these special connections. The third talk discussed the unique worth of humor and therefore looking to share a good laugh with your spouse each day. This is certainly not to minimize the stress and hardships being experienced at this time, but finding something that makes you both laugh together helps to lower tension and improves the ability to cope. Think of the lovely moment when our president was able to laugh at himself the day after he had delivered a serious national review of the COVID-19 situation in South Africa. This moment immediately helped relieve some national tension and provided many a laugh with our president. If you haven't seen this, Google and enjoy the moment of light relief. In the fifth and final talk, which will be the next one, I'd like to suggest that you use this time together by being intentional about ridding yourselves of harmful residue. It's always nice to have a fresh start, especially when it comes to marriage. Let's face it, every marriage needs a chance to clear the air. There's enough wear and tear on any given couple living together day in and day out, and particularly in this lockdown situation. Before I get into the final talk, though, some very important T's and C's apply. Please listen to these closely before attempting the final aspect of this series, which will be discussed in my next talk. The recommendations of the last 3 talks have to be in place before you attempt the fourth and last action. If they aren't, unfortunately, what should be a very positive and useful exercise degenerates into high emotional tension, anger, and a pulling apart. Thus, make sure that these daily actions are in regular place and being enjoyed and appreciated by both of you. Communication skills have to be improved and practiced. Warmth and empathy must be in place. Please keep reminding yourself that your spouse is not the enemy. You are on the same team, but might have a different game plan understanding. To continue the game analogy, you also can't be referee and player. Briefly, let me run through some of the how-to-do skills. First, communication. Find the time to be able to talk without being interrupted by children or mobile phones. Turn your phones off for the duration of your talk time. Hold your spouse's hand, sit side by side, and indicate warmth that she or he is important to you. You value him or her, and that you want your relationship to be the most important one of all relationships. Take it in turns to talk. The recommended hot topics will be identified in my final talk. This time of intentional clearing out the residue should not last longer than 45 to 60 minutes at a time. End with a hug, and a plan set up to continue dealing with the issues at further agreed upon days and times. During this relationship building exercise, one of the most difficult but important aspects is to listen. Listening is a compliment to your partner because it says, I care about you, I want to know how you think and feel and need. I need you to listen with your body, retain eye contact, move closer, lean slightly forward, nod or interject a yes, smile or frown in sympathy with what is being said. Keep your posture open, facing your partner, arms unfolded and uncrossed. Actively keep away from distractions. Turn the TV off, the newspaper, magazines down. This is your time together. Whilst your spouse is talking, focus on what they're saying and switch off the following: trying to mind read, rehearsing your comeback, filtering out some things and not hearing everything, judging your spouse and already assigning blame on her or him, jumping in and offering advice before your partner has finished speaking, thinking of other things and what you're going to do afterwards, being right, and then switching off and leaving the conversation when there is any suggestion that you are less than perfect, placating and being quick to agree without giving my spouse enough time to express his or her thoughts. Another important skill in this communication exercise is paraphrasing. When your spouse has finished expressing their concerns and opinions, which I hope were prefaced with the words, the way I see things, or from my side, to show that you were listening, repeat in your own words what you think your partner has just said. Start by saying things like, what I heard you saying is that, in other words, let me get this right. So you felt that, if I understand you correctly, do you mean, are you saying that? The next important skill is clarifying, in which you tell your partner what you thought you heard. Find out that you were wrong and then start asking questions to clarify. Please remember the person you are talking to is not the enemy. Your intention is not to interrogate, to pressure for your own point of view, to blame, to belittle, or to manipulate in any way. It is to understand and learn more of your partner's viewpoint. The final aspect of your listening to and understanding your spouse's concern is to provide feedback, in which you feedback your own reactions, feelings, thoughts, opinions, and desires without judgment and without falling back into using listening blocks such as sparring, advising, judging. I'll now move on to the second aspect of important how-to skills. This is to practice and improve your empathic understanding of your spouse and his or her opinions. Empathy is the ability for you to figuratively put yourself in the shoes of your partner so that you can feel what emotions he or she is holding. You will feel these emotions while having a full understanding that these are your partner's emotions and not your own. You will allow yourself to be fully accepting of your partner's emotions and perceptions. You validate him or her with your selfless attunement. As you offer this empathy, your partner will feel as though his or her emotions are being cradled and nurtured in your emotional arms. They will feel understood, accepted, connected, important, and loved. Within these feelings, all suffering can be nurtured towards resolution. Existentially, we fear being alone, and biologically, we suffer when we feel disconnected. Empathy fosters the attachment which offers both existential and biological nurturance. Empathy also does not imply that I agree with your feelings and emotions, but as I try and get into your shoes and feel the way you do, I now can understand why you could think that way. Once all the above T's and C's have been understood and practiced, the agenda for points to discuss can then be identified. You have the time in this lockdown situation to rid your marriage of the harmful residue that maintains damaging emotions that continue to drag your marriage downward. This final step of taking time to rid your marriage of harmful residue, which I discuss in my next talk, is important because it clears your system of the emotional junk that keeps you from enjoying intimacy at the level you'd like. Harmful residue blocks you from enjoying the level of intimacy that only couples in the top 10% experience. So, until next time, intentionally make time to affirm and thank your spouse for specific things done that you appreciate. Make time to touch. Find something funny to share and have a good laugh together, and practice your communication and empathy skills. Please remember to send me your thoughts and comments to my email address, alexkeencounselor@gmail.com. I look forward to hearing from you. Keep sane and safe. Bye now.